Hey everyone, this is Dr. Chris Painter, 40, Bungee, and I am walking my dogs and rucking at the same time this evening. And just a reminder that September is Suicide Prevention Month. And one thing I definitely want to remind people as we get to close through the month, we don't want to stop here. But then also just remember, a lot of times we may have that friend who talks about it, who maybe has even attempted in the past, and we think it's just a cry for help, or it's just they're just saying it, they don't really mean it until they actually do. And so we have to take them seriously. But don't stop there. Again, like I mentioned before, some won't even say a thing. They're just quiet. You just don't hear from them anymore. So, especially as it gets darker, as it gets colder, who have you not talked to? Who have you not reached out to? So, coming up, we actually have a friend of mine, Jeff Earl, Shredder, and he's going to be talking about his experiences with suicide.
Hey guys, it's Jeff Earl Shredder coming to you downrange. What a surprise! Here in my hotel room, and just wanted to give my thoughts and reflection as we bring awareness to Suicide Awareness Month, the month of September. It's time for us to talk openly about this tough subject. Break that stigma, and hopefully learn and lean on our brothers that we have at F3. Suicide is obviously a very touchy subject, and no doubt has had an impact on a lot of us in our lives. And me personally, it's affected me with three close friends of mine. And I just wanted to talk to you guys tonight a little bit about those, what those guys have meant to me. Um, Hopefully, I can get through this video, but here we go. So, my first experience dealing with this issue was a good friend of mine who I was friends with in college. Matt, a fraternity brother of mine, a guy who I had a lot of love for. Matt and I spent a lot of time together. We roomed together in the fraternity house. We fished together, went hunting together, concerts together. Uh, met his family many occasions. Had just a wonderful family. Originally from Perryville, Missouri, so we spent a lot of time at his grandpa's cabin on the lake there in the summer, just having a good time as old college guys would do. But Matt, going into our senior year of college, decided to leave college and join the Marines. Something that we talked a lot about as he was making this decision, and I knew Matt was really excited. He was going to get to have the opportunity to work on helicopters and be a mechanic in the Marines, something that he was dead set that he was going to do, and he did, and was great at it. But while he was there on base, he was in a motorcycle accident and was paralyzed from the waist down. And I remember the first time seeing him in his wheelchair was at my wedding. He came, and seeing him was tough to see. Here was a guy who had lived life at the fullest, always looking for a new adventure, a new challenge, and never backed away from a challenge or an adventure. He was very motivated, as any good Marine is, and so. But we stayed in touch. But a year later, on my wife's and I's 1 year wedding anniversary, I got the call from a friend of mine that he had shot himself. And I think as I reflect back on that, I know Matt, being the type of person uh, he was never someone who was going to ask for help. He was always going to do it on his own, very independent minded, and I think um, just the thought of having to be a burden, or having to rely on friends and family now to help him now that he was in a wheelchair was just something that he had a tough time with. And so, Matt taught me a lot about life. It was the first time I had to go through that situation. I know it was very hard on his family. The funeral was very sad, but that was the first time I got to think about what can we be doing to help brothers in need, and not taking for granted that just because you think that they are tough, that they are able to achieve these things, that they can do it alone, and that we always need to be looking out for each other. And so I know that's something that I hope I can continue to do. I know I'm not perfect at that. I know I'm also one of those that's for any guy. I'm sure it's hard to ask for help in anything, whether it's a mental issue, depression issue, or just other issues. It's always tough for us guys to open up, but don't be afraid to. We have guys here at F3 that are always there to listen, offer guidance, to pray for us, and I know that's something that I hope that we can do a better job of as men as we try to talk about what F3 is all about. The second instance in when I've had to deal with suicide was a close mentor of mine, Tom Schweik. Tom was a elected official here in Missouri. I worked on his first campaign, ran his second campaign, and had worked in his official office. And Tom was someone that I learned a lot about. Tom was a father figure to me. He was a true mentor. Tom reminded me a lot about my dad. They both had very unique interests, broad interests, from history to politics to music, you name it. They just seemed to just want to always be learning about different things, learning about people, learning about issues. How can you accomplish those issues? And Tom always had a strong sense of right and wrong. Issues for Tom were always very black and white, and in politics, that's sometimes a difficult thing, as we always have to kind of work in the gray area sometimes. But that was not how Tom was built. He had a very strong sense of what should be done, what is the right thing to do, and he was always going to speak his mind about that. But despite the many hours that we spent together, the early morning phone calls that I got from him, the late nights on the campaign trail, the hours at the Capitol working on different issues, it never occurred to me that Tom was, battling his own internal demons, demons that I was not aware of, that have been, with him for a while, and shortly after announcing his intent to run for governor, those demons got the best of him, and he also shot himself, and it was tough. I was a young guy at the time, starting a new family, and losing someone like that who had meant so much to me was tough. And there's not a day that I go by that I don't think about it. I've been able to continue working in politics, and it's provided a great life for me and my family, and I know I wouldn't be where I'm at today if it wasn't for Tom. And then lastly, about a month later, a good friend of ours that worked in the office with me, with Tom, Spence, also, succumbed to his demons and shot himself as well. Spence was someone that I had built a very close relationship with. Spence was kind of a old hand in politics. He was our communications director. Had previously served for a former governor, leading his communications and press office, and someone who I just had the utmost respect for. I learned so much from Spence in the world of politics and how to communicate and what people really care about. And Spence just had a huge personality. I every time I talk about Spence and think about him, I think of this picture that I hope I can share with you guys at the end of this video, of him holding my oldest daughter when she was a baby. We were at dinner one night, celebrating some sort of win or something. I don't really recall, but the smile on his face will say it all. All you need to know about Spence, and his was probably the hardest to really digest, just because it came out of nowhere. Spence was living in Jeff City, and I remember the day I got that call. It was a Sunday, and just kind of working around the house. It was kind of late in the afternoon, and the whole day just kind of felt off, and not sure what was going on. We he'd just gotten through losing Tom, his funeral, figuring out what we were going to do in our own lives moving forward, and I got the call from Spence's sister, who was down in Springfield, where Spence was from, saying that they couldn't get a hold of him, and have I, talked to him that day, or have I heard from him that over the weekend? I said no, I have not, and that's after having lost Tom, you just know in your gut something's not good, and you always pray and hope for the best, but I soon got another call to come over to his apartment, and his mom was there. His mom had come into town because they were going to go to a doctor's appointment later that day, and so I was there with Spence's mom, getting the news, or I just received the news about her son, and there in his apartment where he had took his life, and it's the small things that you remember. I don't want to share all those here, but that will never leave me, and I'm thankful that God put me in that place that day to be with his mom, because she had nowhere else to go. That night she spent the night at our house, and I know just can't imagine what she was going through that night, dealing with this, and so it was tough, but all three of these men have had positive impacts on me, and so I don't ever want to dwell on the negatives. I know that God is always able to work through difficult situations and bring good about it, and that's what I always try to think about when I think about suicide. Those that I know who have had other experiences with it, other family members who have lost loved ones, friends, co-workers, and that there's always something good that can come out of this. And I think that's where F3 can really step in. So I want to challenge all of us this month to check in with each other, check in with someone that you're close with and maybe you haven't talked to in a while, maybe someone who hasn't posted for a while, invite them back out to the gloom. All of us know the positive impacts that F3 can have on us as men, and we need to be always looking out for each other, checking in on each other when we don't hear from them from time to time, or we see that maybe they're a little off, at the beat down. They're not as talkative, or maybe they're a little distant. We should have courage to ask them what's going on. Is there anything I can do for you? Because mental health issues affect people in many different ways, and it takes courage for us to offer up our help, but also it takes courage to ask for help. So if you are struggling, know that these issues aren't a sign of weakness. It takes courage to ask for help. And so I hope that you would do that. I would, like I said, challenge all of us to be more aware of that and be checking in on each other. So I hope this video was helpful, and I thought I'd leave us with a prayer that I found that I thought might be helpful. It's the prayer of St. Francis de Sales. Be at peace. Do not look forward in fear to the changes of life. Rather, look to them with full hope as they arise. God, whose very own you are, will deliver you from out of them. He has kept you hitherto, and he will lead you safely through all things. And when you cannot stand it, God will bury you in his arms. Do not fear what may happen tomorrow. The same everlasting Father who cares for you today will take care of you then and every day. He will either shield you from suffering or give you unfailing strength to bear it. Be at peace and put aside all anxious thoughts and imaginations. In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Have a good day.